Imagine this high above our heads, so far away we can't even see it without powerful telescopes, a star. This star is huge, bigger than our sun, maybe many times bigger, and one day it dies. But it doesn't just fade away, it explodes, it becomes a supernova. It's the biggest explosion in the universe that we know of. It sends out light and energy and stuff from inside the star all across space. And it changes things. Now, think about us humans. We are here today because of a long, complicated story called evolution. It took millions of years. Our ancestors slowly changed, adapted, got smarter, and started walking upright. They left the forest and moved to open grasslands. This all happened over a very long time. But what if these two stories, the cosmic explosion and our own human journey, are connected? What if a supernova, one of those giant star deaths, actually pushed our evolution along? What if it helped create the world that made us who we are? Sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, right? But some scientists think it might be true. They've found clues. Let's talk about what a supernova actually is. A supernova happens when a star dies in a spectacular way. There are a couple of main ways this can happen. One way is when a really massive star, much bigger than our sun, runs out of fuel. It can't hold itself up against its own gravity anymore. It collapses very fast. And then it bounces back, exploding outwards. This is called a type II supernova. The other main way is with a smaller but still dense star called a white dwarf. A white dwarf is like the leftover core of a star that was once like our sun. It's super dense but not actively burning fuel anymore. If this white dwarf is in a binary system, meaning it has a companion star, it can start sucking matter from that companion star. It pulls in more and more material. Eventually, it gets too heavy, too dense, it hits a critical mass, and then boom, it explodes. This is a type E of supernova. Both kinds of supernovae release an incredible amount of energy, way more than our sun will produce in its entire life. For a short time, a single supernova can shine brighter than an entire galaxy of billions of stars. And when it explodes, it doesn't just send out light, it sends out X-rays, gamma rays, and tiny, fast-moving particles called cosmic rays. It also creates new elements, stuff like iron, which is in our blood, and it blasts these new elements out into space. So, we know supernovae happen, they are real, and they are powerful. But how close would one need to be to affect Earth? If a supernova happened really, really close, like within a few light years, it would be bad news. It would probably wipe out all life on Earth, the radiation would be too intense. It would sterilize the planet. But what if it was further away, say around 100 to 300 light years? That's still pretty close in cosmic terms. Our galaxy is about 100,000 light years across. So 100 to 300 light years is practically our cosmic backyard. At that distance, it wouldn't kill everything directly. But it could still have a big impact, and here's where the story gets interesting for us. Scientists have found evidence that a supernova, or maybe even a series of supernovae, happened relatively close to Earth in the past few million years. This is the period when our ancestors, the hominins, were really starting to change and evolve in big ways. The key evidence for this comes from something called iron 60. Iron 60, or Fe60, is a special kind of iron. It's radioactive, and it's not made naturally on Earth. It can only be made in the super hot, super dense conditions inside a massive star right before and during a supernova explosion. What makes Fe60 so useful as a cosmic detective? It has a relatively short half-life. That means it decays away pretty quickly. Its half-life is about 2.6 million years. If you find F60 on Earth, and it's still there, it means it must have come from a supernova that happened not too long ago in geological terms. If it was from something billions of years ago, all the F60 would have decayed by now. And guess what? Scientists have found Fa60, they've found it in deep sea sediments. These are layers of mud and dust that have settled on the ocean floor over millions of years. They act like a timeline. By looking at different layers, scientists can tell when certain things happened. When they looked at these deep sea sediments, they found peaks of F60. One significant peak was found in layers that date back to about 2.6 million years ago. And another, smaller peak was found around 8 million years ago. The 2.6 million year ago event is especially interesting, because that's right around the time when a lot of important things were happening in our evolutionary story. This Fe60 evidence is pretty strong. It tells us that material from a supernova or several supernovae drifted through our solar system. Some of that material settled on Earth. So we know a supernova happened nearby. The question then becomes, what kind of impact did it have? If a supernova happened 100 to 300 light years away, it wouldn't be a sudden blinding flash that killed everything. Instead, the biggest danger would come from the particles it sends out the cosmic rays. When a supernova explodes, it creates a shock wave. This shock wave acts like a giant particle accelerator. It speeds up existing particles in space to incredibly high energies. These are the cosmic rays. These cosmic rays would hit Earth. They would hit our atmosphere. Our atmosphere is usually a great shield. It protects us from a lot of harmful radiation from space, but these supernova-generated cosmic rays would be extra powerful. They would punch through the upper layers of our atmosphere. When they hit the atmosphere, these high-energy particles would ionize it. This means they would strip electrons from atoms and molecules. This changes the chemistry of the air. It would create a lot of something called nitrous oxides. These nitrous oxides would then start to break down our ozone layer. The ozone layer is super important for life on Earth. It's like a protective sunblock. It absorbs most of the harmful ultraviolet UV radiation coming from the sun. If the ozone layer gets thinner, more UV radiation reaches the Earth's surface. More UV radiation is bad news. It can damage DNA. It can cause skin cancer. It can harm eyes. It can damage plants, affecting photosynthesis. It can kill off tiny organisms in the ocean that form the base of the food chain. So, if a supernova event thinned our ozone layer for a long time, it would put a lot of stress on life. Beyond UV radiation, the increased cosmic rays themselves could have effects. Some scientists think that cosmic rays might influence cloud formation. If more cosmic rays lead to more clouds, that could reflect more sunlight back into space. This could lead to a cooling effect on the planet. Also, all that ionization in the atmosphere, it could lead to a lot more lightning strikes. Imagine a world where lightning storms were much more common and intense. This could mean more wildfires, and wildfires can reshape landscapes, clearing forests and creating open spaces. Now, let's bring this back to human evolution. What was happening around 2.6 million years ago? This time is a big deal for our story. It's when the Pliocene epoch was ending and the Pleistocene epoch was beginning. And this period saw a huge shift in Earth's climate. The planet started to cool down. Ice sheets grew at the poles, the climate became drier. In Africa, where human evolution was happening, this cooling and drying had a big effect. The lush forests started to shrink. They gave way to vast, open grasslands or savannas. This is a very well-known part of our evolutionary history. Our ancestors, who were already walking on two legs, had to adapt to this new, more open environment. And it's around this time, roughly 2.6 million years ago, that the first members of our own genus, Homo, started to appear. This includes species like Homo habilis, often called handyman, because they made and used simple stone tools. This period also saw significant brain growth in our ancestors. So, we have a supernova event, evidenced by F60, happening around 2.6 million years ago. And we have massive climate shifts and the emergence of our direct ancestors, Homo, around the same time. Think about the increased radiation. The extra UV from a thinned ozone layer would have been a big problem, especially for creatures living out in the open. Our ancestors were likely adapting to the savanna. They had less tree cover. This could have put pressure on them to adapt in new ways. Maybe those with darker skin, which offers more protection from UV, had an advantage. We know skin color evolved over time, but it's not just about skin. The stress on the ecosystem would have been immense. Plants would be damaged. This would affect the animals that eat plants and then the animals that eat those animals. It would disrupt food chains. Our ancestors would have needed to be resourceful to find food and survive. The cooling and drying trend, potentially intensified by supernova effects on cloud formation, would have further expanded the savannas. This forced our ancestors to truly commit to life on the ground. Walking upright, which had started earlier, became even more important for seeing over tall grasses, carrying food, and traveling longer distances between shrinking resource patches. What about the increased lightning and wildfires? Fires would have cleared out forests and created new open areas. It might have also exposed roots and tubers, making them easier to find. Some theories even suggest that early hominins might have started to interact with fire, even if they weren't controlling it yet. Finding naturally occurring fire and using it for warmth or protection could have been a stepping stone to eventually controlling fire, which is a huge part of human development. And then there's the idea of mutation. Increased radiation, even if not immediately lethal, could lead to a higher rate of genetic mutations. Most mutations are bad or neutral, but sometimes a mutation can be beneficial. It can give an organism an advantage in a changing environment. Could some of the rapid changes in brain size or other traits in early Homo have been helped along by a higher mutation rate? This is a harder claim to prove, but it's part of the discussion. The key here is environmental pressure. Evolution doesn't just happen. It happens because environments change, and organisms have to adapt to survive and reproduce. A supernova, even a distant one, could have created a period of severe environmental stress. It would have shaken things up. And in that shaken up world, certain traits that were already developing in hominins might have become incredibly valuable. For example, our ancestors were already somewhat social. They were already tool users, even if rudimentary ones. They were already walking upright. These existing traits might have given them a unique advantage in a landscape changed by a supernova. A bigger brain, for example, might have helped them figure out new ways to find food, deal with predators, or escape harsh conditions. The pressure to adapt might have pushed for quicker brain development. It's not saying the supernova created humans out of nothing. It's saying that the supernova might have been a powerful force that accelerated or directed the evolutionary path of our ancestors. It was an environmental shock that favored innovation and adaptability, but we have to be careful. This is a compelling hypothesis, but it's not a proven fact. Scientists are still working to understand all the connections. One challenge is distinguishing cause from correlation. The supernova happened around the same time as major evolutionary changes. But did one cause the other, or were they just two big events happening at the same time? Earth's climate is always changing. Tectonic plate movements, changes in Earth's orbit around the sun called Milankovitch cycles, and volcanic activity all influence climate. These are powerful forces that have driven climate change throughout Earth's history. The expansion of grasslands and the cooling trend could have happened anyway without a supernova. So, was the supernova just an extra push, or was it the main driver? That's a big question. The FE60 tells us a supernova happened, but it doesn't tell us exactly how strong the radiation dose was at the surface. It also doesn't tell us how long the ozone depletion lasted, or exactly how much it changed the climate. These are things scientists try to model with computers, but it's complex. Another thing to remember is that evolution is complicated. It's rarely one single thing that causes a species to change. It's usually a mix of many factors: climate, food availability, competition with other species, predation, and random genetic luck. A supernova might be one piece of a very complex puzzle. And if a supernova had such a big impact on Earth, why would it trigger human evolution specifically? Wouldn't it affect all life? Yes, it would, and it probably did. Many species would have struggled or gone extinct. Others might have evolved in their own ways, but hominins were already on a unique path. They were already adaptable, already moving into new niches. The supernova might have been a crucible for their particular set of existing traits, forcing them to push those traits further. The research into this idea is still going on. Scientists are looking for more F60 in different places, trying to get a clearer picture of when these cosmic events happened and how intense they were. They are also improving their models of how cosmic rays interact with Earth's atmosphere and how that affects climate and life. It's a field that brings together astronomers, geologists, paleontologists, and atmospheric scientists. It really shows how everything in the universe, from giant exploding stars to tiny molecules in our atmosphere, can be connected to the story of life on Earth. So, did a supernova explosion trigger human evolution? The honest answer is we don't know for sure. But it's a fascinating and very real possibility. We have strong evidence that a supernova happened relatively close to Earth, right around the time our direct ancestors were undergoing major evolutionary changes. We also have plausible scientific reasons for how such an event could have put immense pressure on Earth's environment, leading to conditions that favored new adaptations. It's a story that reminds us that our home, Earth, is not isolated. We are part of a much bigger cosmos. Events light years away can reach us, shaping our world and perhaps even our very selves. It makes you look up at the stars with a whole new sense of wonder, thinking about the powerful, distant explosions that might have played a part in making us who we are today. The universe is full of surprises, and our own origins might be one of the most surprising connections of all.